Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today's video is going to be my 1 month 1 palette update for September. So this series I just kicked off at the beginning of August, and this is kind of how I'm wanting to focus on my eyeshadows for the time being. So for a long time I was doing eyeshadow roulette, where I randomly picked 5 shadows from all different palettes in my collection, and I did that for a really long time, and I felt like I was getting a little bit bored with that. Some of you guys were getting a little bit bored with it, so I decided to switch things up and start doing a 1 month 1 palette. I've seen a lot of other YouTubers do similar things. I know I've seen Kitsch Snitch do this, I've seen Jacqueline Levine do it, so I'll link theirs below as well as any others that I can find. So definitely wasn't my original idea, but I thought it would be a really fun way to really focus and get to know each of my palettes individually a little bit better and actually start to see more progress on each of my palettes, a little bit more use in all my palettes. So August's palette was the ColourPop Miss Bliss palette, and that one I chose using the Pretty Random app, which is a random number generator, and it just so happened that that was actually the newest palette in my collection. So in the first part of this video I will share some of the looks that I created with this palette, and then in the second part of the video I will be introducing my September palette. So here's Miss Bliss. This is a 9-pan palette, so it's a little bit smaller than some of the other palettes that I own. And the one shade in here that I didn't use this month was Law of Attraction. It's a pressed glitter, and I'm still not really sure how I feel about pressed glitters on my eyes. I'm a little hesitant to use them just because it does warn you that it's not intended for the eye area. I kind of decided to play it safe and not use that one, but I did use all 8 of the other shades. My goal was to use each shade 5 times. And I did meet that goal for all of them except one, and that is the shade Loves It. I only used this one 3 times. For whatever reason, I just wasn't dipping into that one quite as much. And even though I didn't hit pan on any of the shades in here, I do see a good amount of wear on each of the shades in here, which is really exciting. I will show you a comparison from how it looked at the beginning of the month to now. And it was basically brand new at the start of the month. I'd only used it a handful of times before that, just because it is my newest palette. So you have 3 more cool pinks, and then you have 5 more peachy coral type shades. So you can kind of go in one of 2 directions. You can either go completely pink or completely coral, and then of course you can also do a mix of pink and coral. And so you will notice that out of all the looks that I did this month, at least the ones where I was only using this palette and nothing else, most of the looks ended up looking pretty similar. They're all very soft. There's really no deep shades in here. They're all very light. So not a ton of depth to any of the looks. It's not the most versatile palette ever, but regardless of that, I really enjoyed using it all month and I didn't get bored of it. So the first shade that I did, I think was actually my favorite, and I focused in on the peachier shades. For this look, I used a combination of Intuitive and Optimist in the crease. Those are the 2 matte peach shades. And then I had Palo Santo on the lid, which is that beautiful metallic peach. I think that might be my favorite look or my favorite shade in this palette. And then I used Woe just as a blending shade. That's sort of a lighter yellowy peach. So those 4 shades, I really liked this look. And you'll also see in the picture, I was wearing that Madame Glam lipstick in Pucker Up that I almost decluttered in my last declutter video, but I said that I was gonna really try to find a way to use it in the next month or so, and this actually was a way I used it, and I really liked it in that look. There are some looks where I feel like that lip color clashes, but I felt like it went really well with those pastel coral colors on my eyes, so I really enjoyed that look. I think that was my favorite look of the whole month. Very simple, but just those tones are some of my favorites to wear on my eyes. Look number 2 was probably the simplest look that I did this month, and I just used 2 shades. Woe in the crease, which is that light shade there. That's one of the mattes that has shimmer in it, if that makes sense. So it's not a shimmer shade. It has a matte base, and then you'll see little flecks of shimmer in there. That actually doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind a little bit of a glimmery shade in my crease. And I actually feel like those shades are incredibly easy to blend. So it doesn't bother me. I know some people don't love that they do that, but that's the shade I had in my crease, and then Palo Santo on my lid. Super peachy, super light, really, really simple, but I also loved that look. Look number 3 was another 2-color look, and I decided to do more of a matte look this time with some of the pinkier shades. I did a mix of Quartz and Chakra to Me in the crease, and then I did of Quartz, which is that really light pink shade, all over my lid and in the inner corner. So that was more matte. Again, really simple. I'm loving these cooler pinks. I actually, before I had this palette, I really didn't have any cooler toned pinks in my collection that I know of, at least not very many at all. So I've really been enjoying those as well. In look number 4, I also focused in on those pink shades. Once again, I did a mix of Quartz and Chakra to Me in the crease. I also added a little bit of this peachier matte shade, Intuitive, into my crease. Mixed in with the pinks, the look still ended up pulling a lot more pink. That didn't really turn it into more of a corally orange shade, but it just kind of helped to blend out the crease a little bit more. And then I used the shade Loves It on my lid, which is that metallic cooler pink shade. And then I also used a little bit of Optimist on my lower lash line, which I don't think you can really tell that I used that in the picture, but just for a little bit of soft definition. For look number 5, I didn't take a picture of this, but this is the look that I was wearing in my really long, like 40-minute video where I was talking about how ethical are some of our favorite cruelty-free brands. So I'll probably insert like a clip of me talking in that video so you can get a look at this look. With this look, I actually did pull in one of my magnetic singles from Makeup Geek, and this is the shade Grandstand. I need to use this more often. This is like a rose gold taupey eyeshadow, so pretty. I don't know why I don't wear this more often because it's beautiful, and it was beautiful with the Miss Bliss palette, believe it or not. So I really just mixed it with some of the peachier shades in here. I used Vibrant Thing in my crease, and then Palo Santo in the inner corner, and then Grandstand was the shade that I had all over my lid. And I really liked that combination. That was so pretty. That's like my ideal kind of everyday simple eyeshadow look. For look number 6, I challenged myself to use all of the shades except for Law of Attraction. All the shades I had done before this, I had either focused on the pinks or the peaches, but I hadn't really mixed those two tones together. So for this look, I decided to try out a look with both. So I decided to use Palo Santo on the inner half of my lid and then Loves It on the outer half. Those are the two metallic shades, Palo Santo being the peachier one and then Loves It being the more pink one, to really kind of create like a gradient between those two tones and bring those tones together. And then I used kind of a mix of a bunch of the matte shades to blend out my crease. So I used Chakra to Me, which is that deeper pink matte in the outer half of my crease. Then I used a mix of Intuitive and Woe kind of as a transition shade. Those are two of the peachier colors. And then of Quartz, which is this super light pink shade, I just used to kind of blend everything together. And then on my lower lash line, I used Optimist and Vibrant Thing, kind of a mix of those two, just to define my lower lash line a little bit. So that is how I used all 8 of those shades on my eyes. And I really ended up liking that look too. At first I wasn't sure how well the pink and the peach would play together, but I thought that it came out super pretty. So for look number 7, I wanted to find a way to combine Miss Bliss with my Project Pan eyeshadow. This is the e.l.f. Long Lasting Lustrous Shadow in Soiree. It's like a metallic mauve color. Sneak peek, by the way, of my progress on that. And so I figured the best way to pair it with this palette would be to kind of mix it with the pinkier tones, since this mauve shade does have a little bit of a pink shift, and actually those pink tones looked gorgeous alongside this because it really brought out the more pinky side of this Soiree shadow. It has a lot of dimension to it because it's very metallic, so it has some purple, some pink, some burgundy, so it's a lot of different things in one, but I felt like it worked really well with those pink shades. So I used a mix of Quartz and Chakra to Me in my crease. Then I just basically put Soiree all over my lid. I did Vibrant Thing, which is that sort of almost tannish peach color on my lower lash line, just for some definition. And then I also decided to play around with using the pink shades on my cheeks as a blush. So again, I just did a mix of Quartz and Chakra to Me on my cheeks. I thought that looked really pretty. It really tied the look together. And for that, I just used my e.l.f. small stipple brush. It fit really well into the pans, and I felt like it got a very nice blended look. So that's another great thing about this palette, is that you can use some of these shades as blushes as well. And then look number 8 is the look that I'm wearing on my eyes today. This time I used a mix of Intuitive and Optimist in my crease. And then I used Loves It on my lid, that pink shade. I used the shade of Quartz to just blend everything out. And then Vibrant Thing once again on my lower lash line. And this time I also used 2 other shades as a blush. I just mixed Intuitive and Optimist together with that e.l.f. small stipple brush. And I have that on my cheeks, but I did layer it over the Cloven Hallow Hydra Tint in Blossom, which is a really light kind of neutral pink blush. And so that's the look I ended up with that. I think that's so pretty. I really loved both of the times that I used the shades as a blush. I think that they work really well for that. And then I also wanted to mention I did do a palette bingo using a combination of Miss Bliss and my Magnetic Singles palette, which is mostly also ColourPop Singles. And the two shades that I wound up with in there from this palette were Optimist and Palo Santo. And then the other shades were Howlin', which is a matte pastel purple, that peachy color, and then this matte blue. So it came out to be a very interesting look. I will link that for you below if you want to check it out. But that was another fun way that I used this palette, and it was really fun to switch it up and bring in some other shadows since I was mostly just focusing on this palette by itself this month. So those were all 8 of the looks that I ended up doing. Like I said, I did meet my goal of using each of them 5 times with the exception of Loves It, but I'm fine with that. I still feel like I really got to know this palette well this month, and I had a lot of fun with it. Even though, like I said, it's not the most versatile palette ever. You can tell most of the looks I did turned out pretty similar, but I still didn't get bored of it. I thought it was so much fun. A really great palette to use in the last month of summer. I do feel like this is a great spring and summer palette, and since summer is coming to an end, I really enjoyed using it in August. So moving on to my palette that we're going to be using in September. September for me is fall. Like, it is officially fall and I am in the mood for fall eyeshadow looks starting now. This time I thought it would be fun to actually have you guys vote on a palette, so I did ask on my community tab which of 5 of my sort of more fall-esque palettes you would like for me to pick this month. The options were Subculture, Soft Glam, the Billie Beauty Eyes of India palette, e.l.f. Opposites Attract, and Modern Renaissance. Those are 5 of my more, to me, I think of them as fall palettes, and I really do love matching up my looks with the seasons. So as of right now, I did do this poll over 24 hours ago. It has 925 votes. As of right now, the winner is Subculture. It is in the lead by 3 percentage points ahead of Soft Glam. Soft Glam was so close. So I'm really excited. I do feel like Subculture is a great late summer transitioning into fall palette because I do see some of these shades as more summery, like Roxy, Electric. Those are a little bit brighter, but then you also have some really nice rich burgundies and greens in here. So I am really excited to use this for my 1 month 1 palette. I think some months I will have you guys vote, and then other months I may just pick it myself. I think that the palettes that are likely to get the most votes are the ones that a lot of you guys also have in your collections, but there are some palettes that are a little bit lesser known, like the Eyes of India palette, that I definitely will want to use one of these upcoming months just because I think it's a gorgeous kind of fall palette. So that might be an occasion where I would just decide for myself that that's going to be the palette for the month, because I know that there are some palettes that just are not going to get the most votes just because they're more like indie brands or brands that a lot of you guys don't have already. So anyway, but I'm really excited to use Subculture this month. So like last month, I do want to set some goals just to kind of keep me on track to make sure that I'm using this. So this does have 14 shades in it, whereas Miss Bliss, there were 8 shades that I was focusing on. So since it does have more shadows, I do think the 5 uses each goal will be kind of difficult. So I think the goal I'm gonna set for this is to use each shade 3 times. And since this palette I've actually had in my collection for, I think, over 2 years now, there is a lot more wear in this palette just because I've had it for much longer than Miss Bliss. So there is one shade in here that I am pretty positive I can hit pan on. So I do have the goal to hit pan on the shade Dawn. That is just this kind of beigey transition color. I use that almost every time I use this palette just because it's a great color to kind of start out the crease. And I have a really, really big dip going in that shade, so I think I can hit pan on that. I definitely will have to use it more than 3 times, most likely, to hit pan on it. So that shade, I mean, I already know I will use it more than 3 times. I'll probably use it just about every time I use this palette. So gonna try to hit pan on that. And then I think I maybe could hit pan on one of the 3 shimmers, Cube, Electric, and Adorn. Those all have pretty big dips in them, but at the same time, those are very densely packed shimmers. They're very unlike shimmers in the other Anastasia palettes that I have, so they're not nearly as soft and easy to hit pan on as those. So I'm not positive I'll be able to do that, but it would be nice to hit pan on 2 shades in here. I don't have really any dips in any of the other matte shades other than a small one in Roxy, so it's possible I could hit pan on that. I do love that shade, it's gorgeous. So we'll see, we will have to see, but you'll definitely see me wearing it a lot this month. I think this is a great palette to kick off fall and just do some really fun fall inspired looks with. I will still allow myself to use any other palettes in my collection, and I think it'll also be fun, like I did with Miss Bliss, to maybe try to pair this with some other shadows in my collection, just kind of see what kinds of things I can come up with. I may either do some sort of palette bingo or just some kind of get ready with me look where I do use this palette at least once on camera, but then I'll also take photos again of all the looks that I do. So that is my 1 month, 1 palette update and kickoff for September. I'm so excited. I'm loving this series. A lot of people said that they thought I might get bored with just using 1 palette for a whole month, but I didn't get bored at all in August, and I feel like with Subculture there are even more possibilities because there's just a lot more different colors going on in here. It's a very varied color story, you know what I'm saying? So very varied. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so that I know you enjoyed it. Also be sure to subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of videos focused on using what I have, project panning, all kinds of things like that. So I'd love to see you again soon, and hopefully I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.